Fudou Aikawa, also known as Red Gelato and team leader of Freezing Sentai Gelato 5, enjoys a date with his girlfriend, the Reaper Princess, Desumi Magahara. Moments before their hands touch, Blue Gelato comes to check on Fudou if he is okay, and Fudou and Desumi quickly engage in a combat. Seeing their fierce battle, Blue decides he won't be able to help Red and leaves him to help his other teammates. Fudou then points out that they are holding hands and they get excited they managed to do it. A week earlier, the Gelato 5 face Culver and Bear, a gecko monster, accompanied by Moonlight Soldiers and Reaper Princess. Reaper Princess and Red are evenly matched, but Culver and Bear is defeated and calls for retreat. Reaper Princess is forced to retreat, but states that it's the first time someone managed to keep up with her and it feels it may be destiny. The professor wonders if Fudou doesn't have anything better to do, and Fudou reveals there is something on his mind and that he has fallen in love. The professor is shocked, but wonders if he told her how he feels, stating a hero can fall in love too and orders him to tell her how he feels. On a date, Fudou states he loves her from the moment he saw her. Desumi assumes he is trying to mock her, as she doesn't have experience with love. She states that her teammates spread rumors that she likes eating raw bear meat, drink boar blood and fight strong guys at night. Both state they don't know anything about love or relationships. 6 months ago, Gelato 5 engaged for the first time the Reaper Princess Desumi Magahara, and Red starts fighting her. As they are observed by news crew, they give secret signals to each other, giving away what their next attack will be. Fudou notices that Desumi sits further away than usual, and she explains that she had been quite active today and may smell of sweat. However, Fudou doesn't care and states he won't leave her no matter how she smells. Suddenly Yellow appears, informing Red that they are done. Desumi quickly plays as defeated and Yellow is impressed. Yellow believes it would be good for Fudou to learn more about the female heart and announces they are taking applications for a date with Fudou. Fudou returns to Desumi, but feels she is angry. Desumi then wonders if he will take her to a real date, as it's something she always wanted to do with her sweetheart one day. Fudou then states he will take her and they agree to meet tomorrow at 5 o'clock in Central Park. A bit drunk, Yellow joins him, wondering what he is doing, and ends up thinking he is preparing for the date she announced. She tells him there are no rules and all that matters is he to pick something that they both enjoy. Fudou immediately makes his date plan. The next day, he goes to Central Park disguised a bit. As Desumi comes, he is excited to see her in casual clothes and reveals he has a date plan. Yellow calls Fudou, telling him to forget about her advice of no rules as she was drunk. Fudou asks her to tell him the rules, and Yellow starts explaining that he shouldn't go in his tank top and should make himself presentable. He is unable to find Desumi, but Desumi finds him, stating she went to buy some drinks since the protein bars make your mouth dry. The Gelato 5 and Gecko end up engaging in a fight, but both Red and Reaper Princess stand in a bliss and do nothing. Helko lives in Desumi's room and heard that many tremble just from hearing her name, but she finds that hard to believe, as when Desumi is home, she looks like a normal girl. One night, Desumi came back in a daze and has been smiling and laughing much more. Helko acts like she doesn't know what exactly happened, but in reality knows about Fudou and swears that if he makes Desumi sad, he will pay for it. Gecko have been inactive for the last few days, but Fudou struggles as he can't see Desumi. Gelato 5 are tasked with infiltrating the Gecko base and destroying a new weapon. With Pink and Blue traveling and Green on paid leave, it needs to be either Red or Yellow. Fudou volunteers, causing the professor to be moved to tears. The Reaper Princess is in bad mood and feels more murderous than usual. However, she is just in agony as she haven't seen Fudou in 2 weeks. Culver and Bear tells Desumi that he finally got his new weapon, the Neo Culverin cannons. Desumi then walks around and Fudou pops out of the ceiling. She is surprised, but since it's dangerous, she brings him to her dressing room. There Fudou explains he wanted to see her and asks her to play an on-card game. Suddenly, her screen turns, quickly hides with Fudou in her locker. Fudou feels there is something on his face, and as he removes it, he realizes it's Desumi's bra. Desumi gets embarrassed and smacks Fudou, sending him flying out of the locker and knocking out Culverin, who, as he falls on the ground, causes his new weapon to explode, destroying it in the process and damaging the Gecko headquarters. That night, Desumi calls Fudou, but since it's a home line, his mother picks up, shocking Desumi. Fudou takes the phone and Desumi tells him to just buy a smartphone. The next day, Gecko executives are called for their morning meeting. Supreme Leader Bossler takes suggestions of the next target. Beast Princess doesn't care who the target is and just wants to fight. Reaper Princess suggests an amusement park or an aquarium but are rejected, causing Bossler to wonder why she is suggesting date destinations. Culverin jumps in, stating that an amusement park is filled with helpless, unsuspecting humans. Brion agrees that the amusement park is a good place, which makes Reaper Princess happy. Yellow learns that Fudou has a smartphone, which shocks her, but as she overhears what he asks Suri, she figures something is going on with Fudou. Fudou decides to reply to Desumi and uses Suri to tell him the weather for Sunday. On Seri, Yellow disguises herself and goes to the park. Pink comes with her, although she doesn't believe Fudou is hiding anything. They hear a group of children noticing Red and Fudou explains he is just patrolling. Pulver and Bear sees red, yellow, and pink and wonders why heroes are there. Both groups start fighting. Leaving them, Fudou and Desumi go on a date and enjoy various entertainments at the park. Fudou gets motion sickness that he didn't know he had, which makes Desumi happy as they are able to find some hidden sides of themselves. Seeing that the heroes had defeated Gecko, Desumi and Fudou decide it's time to return to them. As they leave the park, Pink sees a picture of them on a wall and notices that she has never seen them before. Yellow uses the opportunity to go shopping and makes her friends carry her bags. Desumi walks home from school with some of her friends. They ask her to go to karaoke, but Desumi says she is busy and can't go. The other girls tell her she won't get a boyfriend that way, but Desumi blushes and laughs, which makes the other girls think she might have a crush on someone. They see red gelato with pink gelato, and the girls think they might be going out on a date because they look like a great match. This idea shocks Desumi, who runs away crying. Haru has invited Fudou because she wants to talk to him. However, she finds it embarrassing and isn't sure if she has the right to ask him if the picture she saw was of him and his girlfriend. Since Haru doesn't say anything, Fudou thinks he knows what she's going to ask. He pulls out some protein and says that she must have hit a wall with her strength training. He then tells her how to train to get a steel body. Haru tries to explain that it's about the picture, but Fudou tells her it's fine because there are pictures of the exercises in the training book, too. She feels assured that he doesn't have a girlfriend because he keeps telling her how to do exercises and what would be good for her. Then, an emergency calls them both. Gecko are going to attack again. Gelato 5 heads to turn them around. Fudou thinks that he will be able to talk to Desumi again when he sees her, but she kicks him instead. He ends up thinking that his timing was off, so he tells her how he plans to avoid her next attack, but she hits him again. Fudou wants to move, but Desumi won't let him. Instead, Desumi launches a new attack that Fudou has never seen before and blows him into a building. Desumi goes to where he is and keeps attacking him. Fudou asks her what's going on, and she says she saw them together. Fudou tells her that Haru just wanted to ask him about bodybuilding. Desumi says that she knows he won't cheat on her, but she was really jealous when she saw him with another girl. Desumi thinks that love has made her weaker and that maybe she isn't made for love, but Fudou hugs her and tells her that he will always love her. Desumi hasn't forgiven him for going on a date after school, but she will forgive him if he takes her on a date after school, which Fudou promises to do. Haru then appears, busting them and tells Fudou that the fight is over. He then tells Fudou that the fight is over. Fudou then walks away with Haru, but since she doesn't say anything, he's not sure if she figured it out. He asks her how much she heard, but when he realizes that she heard almost everything, he feels like it's too late. The next day, on his way to the meeting, Fudou thinks that this is the end of his life. Then Haru shows up, and they go into the meeting. Fudou can't stop wondering why Haru hasn't talked to him in a week. He tells Desumi, and they wonder what she is planning. Fudou stops Desumi from silencing Haru for good because he wants to give Haru some time. Desumi then notices Haru and sends Fudou to buy her a drink. Desumi asks Haru why she hasn't said anything, but Haru says she knows who Desumi really is and wants to fight her. When they start fighting, Desumi wins. Then Haru tells them that she joined the team because she loves Fudou. She eventually figured out that he has a girlfriend, but she didn't think that she would be the enemy commander, let alone someone she knew. Haru says that Desumi once saved her from a group of thieves and told her to get strong. Haru thought she might be able to beat Desumi and take Fudou because she said love had made her weaker, but Desumi is as strong as ever. Desumi says that Haru could easily ruin their relationship, but Haru saw Fudou smile in a way she had never seen him smile before, so she couldn't take away their happiness. Then Desumi gives her a hug, and they both start to cry. Fudou comes back and says he's sorry he couldn't find the drink Desumi requested. He discovers Haru dozing in Desumi's lap and worries that she has permanently silenced her. They take a stroll with Haru later on, and she reveals that she is cheering for them the whole way. Haru warns Desumi that she will steal Fudou if she ever has the chance, and she advises the two to get along. At Gecko meeting, Supreme Leader Bossler presents the Princess Series monthly reports, evaluating them on combat outcomes, negative energy accumulation, drive, enthusiasm, etc. Bossler reveals that Bear's team with Reaper Princess is first again by a landslide. He states that Reaper Princess is a role model for evil and beating Gelato Red almost to death earned her big points. Beast Princess, Kiki, gets angry for Desumi beating her each time. Desumi tells her to calm down and offers her Bossler Doll award, but Kiki smashes it to the ground, not wanting it, and leaves. At the cafeteria, Kiki is still angry, promising to beat Desumi next time. Steel Princess, Kyoko, isn't sure that will happen, but Kiki tells her to shut up as she was in last place. Desumi overhears them, realizing that Kiki has some sort of grudge against her and hates losing, while Kyoko exists in her own little world and is uncompetitive. Kyoko tells Kiki that she had fallen in love, but Kiki isn't interested. However, Desumi quickly jumps in, wanting to learn more. Kyoko reveals that the person she loves is wild, but understanding. However, it's a co-worker. Kiki states then it's off limits and she needs to forget about it, but Desumi totally understands her and wants to support her. Kayoko wants to confess to the person, but fears that she doesn't have good qualities and the person won't return her feelings. Desumi decides to help her and develop her femininity. Desumi calls Kayoko and Kiki and asks them to do pilates, but Kayoko struggles with it. Next, she wants to see her cooking skills, but gets shocked as the food she prepared looked like deadly poison. They proceed to do other exercises, but Kayoko fails in all of them and decides to give up as this proved she is worthless. Later, Culver and Bear's team face Gelato 5 and Desumi tells Fudo about Kayoko's situation and ended up hurting her while trying to help her. She asks Fudo what he expects out of his loved one, but Fudo states nothing and just having Desumi by his side is enough, as he likes her the way she is. Desumi feels embarrassed, but also lucky to have him. Desumi and Kiki visit Kayoko in her room and see she had closed herself in her iron labyrinth. Kiki explains that when she gets like this, she refuses to move and is dangerous to approach her. Desumi breaks one of the iron spikes, which activates the counterattack of Kayoko's shell system, which shoots more iron spikes. Desumi states she was wrong and Kayoko didn't need to change as she is fine the way she is. With Kiki's assist, Desumi reaches Kayoko, who then thanks them and states they had given her the courage. Kayoko then removes her shell, revealing to have a large bust, which makes Kiki jealous and angry, and hoping that the person will blow Kayoko off. Kayoko then goes and confesses to Culver and Bear, who returns her feelings. Culver and Bear buys some food for Catapult Snake and asks for a favor to borrow Steel Princess. Snake agrees, but wonders if Bear would be okay as Steel is quite stupid, but that angers Bear, who starts yelling at Snake. Bear's team along with Steel fight Gelato 5, who are surprised to see Steel there as she belongs to a different team. Having a harder time than usual, Hayato decides to go and call Fudo back from the building he entered to fight Reaper, but Haru stands in his way, saying that Fudo isn't in the building and if he wants to enter, he will have to fight her. Hayato then gives up and returns to fight Bear, and Haru follows him after Fudo and Desumi thank her. Desumi brings out a bento lunch she made. Happy, Fudo prepares to eat it, but Desumi stops him, saying she heard that couples are supposed to feed each other. Fudo had heard the same and they agree to do it. Desumi prepares to feed him some food, but moment before it reaches his mouth, Fudo feels sudden pain in his stomach. Barely standing, he wants to proceed, but then loses consciousness. Fudo spends 3 days in the hospital due to appendicitis. He receives a flower basket by Gecko, with Bossler wishing him fast recovery as he only wants Fudo to die by their hands. Misaki had peeled an apple and asks Fudo if he wants. Fudo agrees, but while she tries to give him a piece, Fudo realizes that she will be feeding him and wanting Desumi to be the first woman that feeds him. He closes his mouth and refuses to eat it. Haru figures it and jumps in and eats the apple. His mother then visits him and almost ends up feeding him an apple as well. Desumi then visits him, sharing that she heard he is getting released tomorrow and she wanted to see him in an unusual situation. She sees him planning to lift weights and warns him he will break his stitches, but Fudo explains he won't die until she feeds him. Desumi then takes the apples and feeds him, making the situation quite tense and romantic, but his mother then returns to tell Fudo that his father will pick him up tomorrow. Seeing Desumi, she assumes she is friends on his and explains they need more players for volleyball game and takes Desumi with her. At the game, Desumi helps them win. Afterwards, she agrees for them to call her again if they need more players. Fudo's mother then apologizes for earlier and reveals she knew Desumi was feeding Fudo. Desumi gets embarrassed, but she tells her to not be shy and that she did the same with her husband back in the day. Fudo's mother states that she used to be quite beautiful when she was younger and shows a picture of her with baby Fudo. Desumi finds Fudo cute, but the mother assumes she meant her. She tells Desumi to take care of Fudo and Desumi confirms she will. Gelato 5 is fighting Gecko. Meanwhile, Fudo and Desumi are enjoying time together. Since it's summer, Fudo asks Desumi if there is anything she would like to do as couple. Thinking about it, Desumi states it's going to the beach. Fudo's face turns red as he imagines Desumi in swimsuit. At lunch, Kiki sees Desumi having a fierce look and gets excited to see what poor soul got her gaze, but then sees that Desumi is trying to decide what dessert she wants. That disappoints Kiki, who tells Desumi that she has an image to maintain and that Desumi was the only one person with a ferocity she could respect. Kiki asks her why she joined Gecko and Desumi explains her parents applied for her. Since the exam is hard, Kiki wonders how she passed it, but Desumi explains she did her best and they put her in leadership role. Desumi wonders if the beach would be a good place for their next attack. However, the alarm rings and calls for the leaders and princesses to report to the conference room. The leaders gather at the conference room. Supreme Leader Bossler reveals he called them to announce that he plans on creating a new monster and establish a new squadron. He calls Reaper Princess and promotes her from Princess series to Monster. Bossler explains that she will undergo enhancement surgery, be fused with an animal, and acquire greater power. The monster leader congratulates Desumi, who looking at Drone Rabbit thinks that if she ends up being a cute monster like her, it may not be so bad. Bossler reveals she will be fused with Mountain Gorilla and shows a concept diagram of how she will look, but that only shocks Desumi. In her room, Desumi starts to think what it will mean for her to become a monster and how her life will change. She receives a call from her father, who is a lifetime soldier at Gecko, who congratulates her on her promotion and states it's a dream come true for family member to become a monster. Her mother also congratulates her. Desumi tries to explain she isn't sure about it, but her mother interrupts her saying that by seeing how hard Desumi is working, her sister Urami started coming out of her shell. Urami reveals that she will join Gecko after she graduates and that Desumi is her idol. Desumi guesses that her family and friends would be sad if she declined the promotion, but wonders what Fudo would think. In that moment, Fudo calls her, wanting to hear her voice, but hearing her cry, he tells her to give him 1 hour. After an hour, Fudo arrives at her dorm and they go on the roof. There Desumi tells him they want to turn her into a gorilla monster. Fudo tells her it doesn't matter what he thinks, but what Desumi wants to do. After thinking a bit, Desumi shares that if she becomes a gorilla, there will be many things she won't be able to do anymore, and even meeting Fudo would be harder. After meeting him, she started to want to do many more new things. If she haven't met him, Desumi guesses she would have easily went with what the rest want and become a monster, but now she wants to keep what she has with Fudo. Next day, at the leaders' meeting, Desumi turns down the promotion. Everyone is shocked and Bossler seems angry at first, but is actually impressed, sharing that Desumi has a true martial artist heart and wants to fight with her own power, and if she accepts the power of an animal, it's essentially she admitting her own weakness. Fudo tells Desumi that this Saturday they will be testing King Gelato Robo at Shonen Beach. Desumi shares that info with Culver and Bear, and 3 teams go to the beach to investigate and demolish the robot. They all receive Gecko Aquatic Combat loadout swimsuits, but Kiki feels her is different than the others as it's a whole piece. However, Desumi and Kyoko assure her it's fine. Gelato arrives in a submarine, but Professor Big Gelato accidentally shoots out the missiles and almost obliterates the Gecko members. Misaki opens a beer and Haru tries to tell her they are not there for fun, but the professor explains they are just testing one part of the robot which forms its calf, which isn't even essential, so it's fine. Fudo goes to the beach. Kiki sees him and wonders what they will do. Desumi then rushes towards him, making Kiki think that she plans on executing the plan herself. Seeing her, Fudo freezes for a moment and they start enjoying their beach date. Kiki gathers courage and decides to prove herself, but then she sees Desumi had buried Fudo up to the head and mistakes it for Desumi torturing Fudo. Moments later she peeks again and sees Desumi holding a stick and preparing to smash Fudo's head, while in reality she was trying to smash a watermelon. Hayato appears and tries to flirt with Kiki, but she recognizes him as Blue Gelato and hits him. Kiki peeks again and sees Desumi eating food with Gelato members and believes she managed to infiltrate them. Hayato gets up and starts chasing Kiki. They stay on the beach until dark and the professor shoots some fireworks for them to enjoy. Misaki tells Desumi that she must thank her because thanks to her Fudo had become a better person and shares more sides of him. The professor prepares to launch the last set of fireworks, but one of the hatches malfunctions. Desumi sees Kiki, who finally managed to escape Hayato. Kiki thinks that it was impossible to destroy the robot even for Desumi, but the fireworks go off and blow up the submarine, making Kiki think that Desumi managed to do it. As Gelato heads home, Dago looks at a picture they took with Desumi and seemingly recognizes her. Dago feeds Fudo after he works late. Dago's fighting calm impresses the females. He ignores Misaki and says workplace romances are off limits. Fudo informs him he is writing in an exchange diary while delivering the food. Fudo confirms Dago's hunch that it's the beach girl's journal but forgets to introduce them. Dago faints when Fudo says her name is Desumi. Fudo wonders if Dago knows Desumi when he wakes up. Dago says it's his monster. Fudo wants to hear Desumi's horrific narrative despite Dago's warning. Dago was a promising karate student 10 years ago. Until 7-year-old Desumi, he had no competition. Desumi then says he smashes everything she plays with and will try not to hear. As she punched him in the stomach, Dago's life flashed before him. Desumi wanted to punch Dago again, but he kept his cool. The dojo teacher closed the next day after training with Desumi, who thrashed him. Dago saw Desumi crying and that this always happens to her. Dago trained her personally. Since then, he's trained himself to avoid being killed by her during training. As Desumi's might spread, hooligans attacked her to become renowned, but she defeated them all and became known as the Reaper of Oyafukodori. Dago moved to Tokyo when his parents divorced in the winter of his senior year. He wanted a final clash with her. He loses handily, but Desumi thinks he held back. Desumi worried if they would meet again and promised to go all out. He sealed those memories because it was terrifying. Dago says she didn't identify him at the beach, but she will. He must prepare for her as she undoubtedly retains her Reaper powers. He tells Fudo that romance at work is banned and he must split up with Desumi to discover and scout her as a hero. Fudo thinks she would be cute as Black Gelato. Dago exits, telling Fudo to follow him to learn more about Desumi. Fudo introduces Desumi to Dago over coffee. Desumi remembers him and enjoys seeing him again. Desumi wants him to train her again, saying she's stronger, but Dago gets sick. Fudou says Dago's busy and can't meet her request. Desumi apologizes but is unhappy when Fudou doubts Dago can coach her. Desumi buys drinks. While she's gone, Dago wonders if Fudou is dating her without being forced. Fudou admits he loves her. She flushed after hearing Desumi return. Fudou tries to feed her cake, but she slaps him in the chest, calling it an indirect kiss. Dago invites her to Gelato 5 after seeing her power. Desumi thinks that joining Gelato 5 will keep her with Fudou and allow them to date without being spotted. Desumi suddenly recalls her Gecko buddies and refuses Dago's offer. Fudou stops her from slipping into Gecko. Dago recalls her lonely, bored gaze. She looks different now, and love must have rendered her weak as he trained to face the terrible Gecko. Dago then believes he can defeat her. He then fights her outside. Outside, Dago informs her that if she defeats him, he will give up on making her join Gelato 5, which Desumi finds unfair because she thinks she can't. Dago claims that if he defeats her, she will leave Fudou for Gelato 5. She asks why she should give up on Fudou, and Dago says the workplace forbids love. Desumi says he should have warned her that rule because she can't afford to lose. Dago becomes green gelato but is struck out by her terrible aura. Desumi feels he was soft on her. They scare Dago. He then looks casual and says he wanted his student to win because it was his reunion. Dago concedes, but begs Desumi to pledge not to be Gecko if she joins a force. Misaki rumors that Desumi and Fudou are dating reach Desumi. Desumi proposes they re-establish some boundaries since they've become comfortable. Desumi hugs his arm and tells him to push her off if she does this. They are stalked and photographed. Fudou receives a surprise present containing a picture of him and Desumi, saying the sender knows about them. Desumi says she's used to making her own lunch at school. Anna Hojo consumes Desumi's cuisine. Anna scares Desumi's friends and wonders whether there's a problem. Kiki and Kyoko enter and complain that Anna continually picks on Desumi. Kiki suggests Anna to the guidance office because her skirt length, nails, and earrings violate school standards. Anna thinks Kiki wants romantic attention, but Kiki denies it. Anna says she can have anything and asks Desumi what she wants now. Anna keeps Desumi's ignorance a secret. The note told Fudou to come to Central Park at 8 p.m. tomorrow or the photo will be released. He encounters Anna at the park, who says she took and sent the image. He wants to know who she is, but Anna won't tell him, and if the picture goes public, he must comply. Fudou kneels and begs her to conceal Desumi's eyes before releasing the picture. Anna is startled that this is his problem and is alright if she distributes it after censoring. Fudou doesn't care about his reputation but wants to help Desumi. As an angel, her picture will become viral and agents will try to recruit her. If she becomes an actress or idol, she will surpass him. Anna tells Fudou to break up with Desumi, but he refuses. Anna is annoyed, but Fudou suggests an option. She surreptitiously records and asks Fudou to say she loves her again, but he refuses. Anna gives him one final chance and asks him to kiss her hand to establish their master-slave bond while recording and blushing. Fudou thinks about it, and Anna's heart beats faster as she waits. She hits him because it's humiliating. She leaves him today but promises to think of filthy things for him to do tomorrow. Fudou shares Desumi the image and about the girl during a Gelato Gecko fight. Fudou calms Desumi, who wants to kill her. Fudou says the girl wants him to kiss her hand when she asks. Desumi quickly suplexes Fudou, but she calms when he says he refused. Fudou says she also asked him to confess his love and leave Desumi. Desumi thinks she's in love. Fudou doesn't know who, but he thinks it's him. He reassures Desumi and clarifies with her. Fudou apologizes to Anna at Central Park, saying he understands. He admires her but cannot reciprocate. Anna smacks him to stop him and says she loves Desaki, humiliated. Anna remembers Desumi talking to her and complimenting her nails. She fell for Desumi because she was honest and pure. Fudou admires her taste and is pleased to find someone who appreciates Desumi. He suggests talking about Desumi all night. Anna thinks it's fun but should pass because they're rivals. Anna calls Fudou Fudaki and apologizes for her mischief, which she will surely continue. Anna warns Fudou that she will steal Desumi if he doesn't keep his guard up. Fudou and Desumi meet covertly in a cave and get 98% on a compatibility test during another Gelato Gecko duel. Fudou's disappointed, but Desumi's thrilled. Haru asks Desumi if Gecko plans to attack tomorrow. Desumi says Bossler will be gone tomorrow, so no attacks. Haru is pleased and begs Fudou to help her study tomorrow for the finals. Haru tells Desumi Fudou is consistently in the top 10 for his year. Haru asks Desumi if she's bad in school because she's nervous. Desumi agrees and Haru invites her. Desumi offers her place as Gelato HQ isn't available. Desumi shocks Haru by taking them to Moon Village, Gecko's women's dormitory, the next day. Fudou's obsession with Desumi's chamber makes her worry it's too unsafe. Desumi sneaks in soldier outfits. Fudou enters her chamber and enjoys the air. Helko hits him and awakens him. They start studying, but Desumi's book falls apart. They find Desumi's midterm answer sheet with a perfect score and discover she's smart. Haru realizes Desumi wanted to study alongside them. Fudou slaps her for lying. Fudou and Desumi then help Haru's math. Fudo observes Haru making a mistake while studying and starts describing how to do things, but just with muscles. Haru consults Desumi. Desumi explains the formula. Haru asks which formula, but Desumi is vague. Haru knows both are horrible teachers. Haru goes home and remarks that they are lucky to get into their university while she has worked hard. Desumi and Fudo are alone, but Haru's words haunt her. She asks Fudo if he's going to college. He wants to study education and teach elementary school. Fudo wonders if Desumi plans ahead. Desumi says she wants to attend the same university to watch her achieve her newly created ambition. She thinks her father will object because he wants her to work full-time for Gecko. If necessary, Fudo will persuade her father. Desumi thinks Haru forgot something when the doorbell rings, but it's her father and younger sister. Desumi greets her parents. Desumi sits in front of Fudo in soldier uniform and glares. Desumi worries why Fudo is in his daughter's room. Desumi tries to explain that he is helping her study, but Desumi says you only need a wicked heart and a desire for world dominance. Desumi thinks her room is too girly and decorates with Gecko posters, but Desumi removes them. He then sees a pile of Super Bossler Kun dolls, which he dearly wanted when he was active, laying about and is unhappy. Desumi hears she declined the monstrous promotion and wonders why. Fudo says Desumi declined after much thought. Urami stands up and hits Fudo, breaking half his helm, and asks what he knows about Desumi and why he should keep out of their family business. Desumi thanks Fudo for advocating for her, but Urami's sister complex makes it best to avoid talking about her life. Fudo accidentally turns on the TV, revealing a Red Gelato energy drink commercial. Desumi yells at Red Gelato and claims Reaper Princess will defeat him. He advises Desumi to work out instead of studying, as she will finish high school in a year and be able to focus on Gecko. Fudo asks Desumi to let Desumi go to college, remembering she wants to spend time with him. Urami thought something was amiss and Desumi should have been the strongest and most vicious, but Fudo had wrecked her. Desumi stops Urami from attacking Fudo. Desumi warns Urami not to release her. Urami cries and hides in the closet, hating Desumi. Fudo asks Desumi again, but he tells him to avoid family affairs. Desumi dons his Gecko outfit to teach Fudo after he rejects. Desumi charges him but returns defeated without Fudo accomplishing anything. Desumi believes Fudo doesn't comprehend his pleasure in this art of defeat, which he spent years perfecting. Fudo says he understands him, recalling how commonplace it seemed when he defeated the foot soldiers, but how stunning with Desumi. Desumi believes Fudo is dedicated to a single cause and shows promise. Desumi showers and says they can talk about the university later. Desumi leaves Desumi to watch Urami tomorrow. Desumi thanks Fudo. Urami watches them leave and says she won't accept Fudo or Desumi. 5 years ago, 3 lads teased Urami for being shy and quiet. The boys run when Desumi appears. Desumi buys Urami chocolates and advises her to be strong to live. Urami wants to see where she'll work next year, so Desumi and Urami go to Mount Takao, where Gecko's hideout is, but Urami is disturbed by Desumi's phone calls with Fudo. Urami is pleased to reach the Gecko hideout, especially when the foot soldiers greet Desumi, but she tells them she doesn't need royal treatment and just hello is fine. Urami's disappointed. Desumi introduces Urami to Supreme Leader Bossler and executives. Urami trembles before him and hopes to join them next year. Bossler says Desumi set the bar high and she will need to work hard. Since she's Desumi's sister, Kiki and Kyoku think she's talented and are glad to have her. Urami is thrilled because the executives admire her, but Desumi wants to take her to eat popcorn. She wants to try a new spot before eating there with Fudo, and lingering in this musty old place is pointless, leaving Bossler and Culver and Bear stunned. Desumi buys Urami frozen popcorn on Takyu Street in Harajuku. After shopping with Desumi, Urami chooses to depart. Urami tells Desumi that her sister is dead and she looks feeble. Urami leaves and recalls how bullies bullied her after Desumi left home. Urami refused to leave her room. Desumi kept telling her Desumi was improving and gaining stronger. After Desumi became a monster, Urami left her chamber to be like her. Urami regrets how Fudo ruined her sister. 3 men ask Urami whether her man dumped her and invite her with them. The other doesn't care if she's too young and grabs Urami's hand. Urami tells him to free her, but since she barely uttered it, they start mocking her as an emo, making Urami worry as she remembers her bullies. Desumi feeds Urami crepes and says she's stronger than ever. Desumi defeats the 3 men effortlessly. After eating the crepes, Desumi advises Urami to fall in love and that love is what she needs to survive, which Urami says she didn't mention previously. Desumi says she'll grasp it someday, but Urami doesn't. Urami thinks Desumi changed, but that's okay on the way home. After joining Gecko, she will purify Fudo. Fall arrived. Fudo and Desumi relax while Gelato and Gecko battle. She gives him a Kokute High School Festival booklet and asks whether he is free. Fudo is thrilled to go Maid Cafe when she describes it. Desumi is pleased, but Fudo must attend the final day on Sunday. She says staff puts Kokute Moon, a 1-hour tale. Couples who take pictures on the moon are thought to become immortally in love. Despite believing them invincible, Fudo supports the notion. However, he advises caution due to the crowds. Hayato rides Fudo to the Kokide festival and draws attention. Hayato says Fudo this is his punishment for attending this beautiful gathering without invitation. Hayato defies Fudo's wishes and draws attention. Fudo escapes, but other students after him. He texts Desumi that he would visit, but things get complicated. Desumi receives Fudo's SMS at the cafe, but Anna peeks and wonders whether she invited her lover. Desumi denies it. Desumi flees away when Anna urges her to join her at Kokite Moon and become unstoppable. Kiki, the discipline officer, tells a couple that school festivals are for community, not romance, leading them to flee. Kyoko thinks Kiki is jealous because she's alone, but Kiki says she'll go after each pair since lack of discipline leads to immorality. Kyoko suggests leaving before she tries to separate her and Culver and Bear. Kiki asks why a bear isn't scaring the students, but they believe it's well-made costume. Desumi invites Fudo to Haunted House Class 3A. Desumi visits the eerie home after escaping Anna. Fudo praises her maid costume. Desumi calls Fudo master and gives him some classmate sweets, making him cry. Fudo believes they can capture a picture at Kokite Moon, but Desumi is worried. Fudo and Desumi flee after Kiki attacks them, thinking they're a couple without knowing who they are. Desumi escapes Kiki, but Anna finds her and claims she agreed to go to Kokite Moon with her, but Desumi denies it. Fudo sees the couples getting ready to go to Kokite Moon outside. Hayato leaps on Fudo's shoulders, wondering where he is and reminding him that he pledged to be his horse today. Fudo says he didn't promise. The staff then unveils the Kokite Moon and gathers the couples at the entryway. Anna traps Desumi in the nurse's office. She calls Kira Sanzugawa, Blood Princess, for help, but Kira advises her not to call her princess at school. Desumi apologizes and begs Kira to hold Anna because she has pressing business. Kira doesn't utilize her powers at school because Bossler will be furious. Since Kira loves Supreme Leader Bossler, Desumi offers her a Super Bossler doll. Kira stops Anna from entering the room after Desumi leaps out the window. Anna advises her to stop her, knowing her opponent. Kira blocks Anna's kick, shocked by her strength. Kiki begs Desumi for help finding couples, assuming she's bored. Kiki worries if Desumi has a boyfriend after she says she has plans. Kiki shivers and turns to see Hayato riding Fudo, glad to see her again. Hayato chases Kiki. Fudo has no idea how to take a picture without being seen with 5 minutes left. Desumi observes Kyoko, who mistaken Culver and Bear with a bear-costumed boy, and wonders where the real bear is. Fudo accepts Desumi's plan. Red Gelato and Reaper Princess then stroll toward the Kokite Moon together. The pupils are impressed by their outfits but think it's unlikely they'd get along. Fudo and Desumi sit on the moon. Fudo and Desumi feel they can do anything together. Drone Rabbit tells Powder Room that Bear and Kyoko are dating, but Catapult Snake already knew. Rabbit says they went to school festival together, which seems odd since romance at work is forbidden, but Snake thinks it's sweet. Snake thinks Rabbit might date Matchlock Eagle, but Rabbit considers him too self-centered. Snake considers Railgun Lion, but Rabbit can't manage Aura types. Rabbit calls Gatling Wolf nervous and fussy when Snake inquires. They conclude that decent men are hard to find. Snake doubts Reaper Princess is romancing. Desumi arrives home. Helko thinks Fudo makes her happy, but he lets her do it. Drone Rabbit and Judgment Princess Ran fight Gelato 5. Judgment Princess has destroyed their weaponry, so Gelato's attempts fail. Desumi questions Ran's solitude at Gecko's cafeteria. Desumi invites her, but Ran puts her mask on and leaves, stating she will join them later. Drone Rabbit apologizes to Desumi and explains that Ran is part of her unit and trained in clandestine operation and espionage and avoids human ties. Desumi discovers Ran and invites her with a letter. Ran reads she's invited to a strategy meeting in Desumi's room at 6 in pajamas. Kiki, Kyoko, and Anna attend the strategy meeting, but Kiki finds they were fooled and this is a girls' overnight. Kiki thinks Desumi did this to be closer to Ran, but she won't come. At that moment, Fudo as Red Gelato enters, shocking everyone. However, Desumi recognizes Ran as it passes. Ran then reveals herself and praises their fighting fitness. Ran wonders if Desumi sees through her. Desumi says he won't leave his shoes and that his biceps brachii muscles are too little. While eating Desumi's takoyaki, Ran says it was intended to be a strategic meeting, but Kiki and Kyoko say it's a nice gathering to get closer. Kiki urges Ran should give up since Desumi always gets what she wants. The females then do various things together. Ran asks Desumi what love is. Desumi says it's useless, but every day is happy and bright. Ran insists on knowing who Desumi loves. Ran guesses by presenting faces. Desumi blushes and tells Fudo she turned up the heater. Desumi brings gifts and scarves to commemorate friendship. Desumi stops Ran from leaving at night and thanks her. Ran thanks her for inviting her and says she wanted to go immediately but enjoyed it. Desumi invites her back. Ran becomes Fudo and promises to express herself. Culver and Bear fights Gelato in a snowy mountain, but the snow prevents movement. Desumi and Fudo hang out. Fudo says his book was released. He shows her his book which insects would be strongest if they were giant. and asks if she will attend the signing tomorrow. Even if it kills her, Desumi will. Desumi stares at Fudo's book at school the next day. She tells her friends she can't go to a movie because she's signing. Her butt is suspect of fever because her face is flushed. Desumi becomes disoriented and stumbles, but she crawls to the signing. Kira Sanzugawa, the nurse, thanks her friends and brings Desumi inside her office. Desumi awakens bound to the bed. Kira is thrilled to wash and care for Desumi as she rarely gets hurt. Kiki and Kyoko find Desumi's classroom empty. Her pals tell Kiki Desumi has a fever and take her to the nurse. Kiki knows this is awful since Kira treats her charges like babies. Kiki barely fled and was nearly brainwashed by her. Kiki helps Desumi by suggesting that they fake unwell to get close to Kira, who loses all judgment when she sees a sick person and then beat her. Kiki and Kyoko find Kira treating Desumi as a baby in the nursing office. They fall into Kira's special nurse's office after seeming sick. Kira tells them she doesn't have enough beds up there, so she'll treat them downstairs. Fudo sneaks into school at night. Desumi is in the nurse's room, not answering her phone. He is astonished to discover her sleeping in baby clothes when he opens her bed curtain. Desumi wakes up and asks Kira to read her a book again. Fudo reads. Desumi awakens and says she felt feverish. Fudo worries and checks her temperature. Fudo tells Desumi no one came to the signing, crying. The first autograph excites Desumi. Kira reads to Kiki and Kyoko, who are being babysat. Supreme Leader Bossler is excited for Gecko's future as the Ultimate Phantom's birth nears. Desumi's French macarons are satisfying Fudo. He announces his next commercial. Desumi is happy for him until she learns it's a bridal commercial. Our Wedding is on as the script's title, and Anna Hashimoto, a famous actress who recently said Red is her favorite Gelato member, is the co-star. After reading the rest of the script, Desumi warns Fudo not to accept. Fudo says he must because the others rejected them. Fudo says Desumi has never been this selfish and doesn't understand why she doesn't want him to take the job. Desumi cries and throws the script at him, telling him to cut the cake with Anna and running away. Fudo still doesn't understand Desumi's behavior. Haru says she heard everything. She asks him to picture Desumi and a stranger cutting a cake. As Fudo imagines it, he feels heartache and realizes he was a fool. Fudo tells Professor Big Gelato that he can't do the cake cutting scene and wants to leave the commercial. Kishimoto Weddings is an important sponsor, the professor says. As Fudo insists, the professor shows him that lack of funding has stalled the Gelato's combined weapons. He can finish it thanks to Kishimoto Weddings. The professor asks Fudo to be reasonable because world peace depends on it. Fudo wonders if Desumi's sadness is worth world peace. Before the commercial, he makes a cake and cuts it with her. Fudo's cake keeps burning. Desumi's menacing aura at Gecko's cafeteria is due to Fudo not calling her for 2 days. Leaders and the princess are summoned to the conference room. As everyone gathers, Bossler says they have enough negative energy and it's time for the Ultimate Phantom. The Ultimate Phantom is born when Bossler activates the device. The Gecko members wonder if it failed because it looks like a giant baby devil. Bossler tries to command it to destroy humanity, but the Ultimate Phantom slaps him and knocks him to the wall. Ultimate Phantom then shoots a beam and blows up the roof, flying away. Kiki says disobedient boys should be punished. She and the Princess series, without Desumi, attack the Ultimate Phantom, but their attacks only entertain him. All the monster leaders use their weapons on it, but the result is the same. Culver and Bear is eaten by the Ultimate Phantom. Culver and Bear's cannons grow on Ultimate Phantom's back. After charging the cannons, the Ultimate Phantom shoots at the Gecko members and flies away. The professor tells Fudo to shoot the commercial after he finishes his cake. Gecko's hideout is destroyed, but the executives are fine. Fudo calls Desumi, but she doesn't answer. The commercial is shot by Fudo. Fudo can't cut the cake. The Ultimate Phantom then destroys part of the building they're shooting at. Fudo sees that his cake for him and Desumi is destroyed. The rest of Gelato transforms to face the Ultimate Phantom. After fighting the Phantom, the 5 of them appear to be winning. The Phantom is defeated by Dago, but the building collapses. After the smoke clears, the Phantom stands up. Kiki and Kyoko appear, making people think they're helping the Phantom. However, Kyoko punishes the Ultimate Phantom for eating Bear with Iron Prison. Kiki attacks him, but the Phantom knocks her. The Phantom then eats Kyoko, gaining her power and using Iron Prison on Kiki. The Phantom grows after eating the wedding cake. Desumi arrives and sees Fudo's cake with her and Fudo's name's destroyed. Fudo must use the Gelato Claymore, the professor tells him. The Phantom captures all but Fudo after the Gelato combine their swords. Fudo is injured and can barely hold the sword, so Desumi joins the fight and helps him. Desumi apologizes for being selfish and hopes Fudo doesn't hate her, but he says he can't. Fudo and Desumi then rush toward the Phantom, avoiding its iron prison and Culver and Bear cannon attacks. The two then cut the Phantom in half, realizing it's their cake-cutting moment. Bear and Kyoko are fine but don't know what happened. After the fight, Fudo thanks Desumi. She wants another cake from him. The ultimate phantom walks in front of them, but Desumi says he's too small to do more harm. The phantom then embarrasses them by calling them Papa and Mama. After fighting, the newscaster approaches Fudo and Desumi to see if they've reconciled, but Desumi immediately attacks Fudo, proving that nothing has changed between the eternal rivals. The two keep the act and Desumi picks up the phantom and leaves.